Hey y'all, this your girl Sonja, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Let's welcome back my guy Rod Walker, sports writer for the New Orleans Advocate. Hey Rod, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
You're doing good.
Glad to be back. Glad to be back on talking about this.
I know, right? Before we get into parts 5 and 6, are you looking forward to Jill Scott and Erica Badu's battle?
I am, but I'm not. I'm not a big fan of them. I mean, I like them, but
what?
I'll definitely be tuned in. But I'm not. I'm probably not as excited as everybody else is. But
Are you serious?
I'll definitely be watching.
Wait, Rod, hold the phone. Wait a minute. I've been bragging about you being a music man.
No, I like both of them, but I'm not. I'll be watching for sure. I'm not gonna miss it, but
okay,
I wouldn't.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. So, out of the two, who do you think is going to win the battle?
Are they just doing? So I think I read something. Are they going to sing each other's song or something like that?
Well, they did videos singing each other's songs.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they're going to actually do that. I think they were just paying homage to one another.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure.
I'm not. I mean, I like them both probably equally. I probably lean a little bit towards Jill, and that's probably because I've seen her in concert. I've seen both of them, but I've seen Jill 3 times, and I probably lean more towards her. But I think it's gonna be good. I think we're gonna leave you satisfied. I don't know if we even have to have a winner all the time. I think we should just on this one, I'm just gonna enjoy the music.
How dare you?
So who you got? Who you got winning?
I agree. Absolutely, Jill. She will. If it's a real battle, Jill would demolish her. Jill, you've seen her. I've seen her in concert, and you've seen her 3 times. So you already know what she does live. She is, far beyond a lot of the vocalists, singers out here, and she is. She ain't nothing to play with. Period. And Erica is not either. Erica's shows are amazing too. Erica is that chick. She's been around since 95, 94, 95, 96. And it's going to be real interesting. I'm excited about it.
Are they singing or are they just playing their songs? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm hoping, Teddy kind of messed it up for everybody trying to bring bands and stuff. So if they can get it together, that would be great to see them sing live. I would love to see that. But for anybody who's interested in seeing it, it's May 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and it'll be on Instagram. So it's a battle between Erica Badu and Jill Scott. So I
actually have a piece of paper on my desk at home now, and every time I hear about some kind of, if it's a DJ I like or if it's one of these battles, I got that's a list of, so I can keep up with what's going on now, because that's sort of my entertainment through this COVID-19. So
exactly.
I keep up with all of it, and I definitely have that one on my calendar. So I'll be tuned in.
Speaking of DJs, ever since we've been at home since mid-March, I've been, following D Nice. Well, I've always followed him, but I've been, with him with his DJing. I was there when he had 200 people, and it's gotten bigger and stuff. And he DJs every night, every day and night, and I be up until 3 and 4 in the morning. I need to go to bed, y'all, because I can't. I'm just I think I'm literally obsessed with him, and I don't know what to do anymore. I'm just I'm constantly checking to see if he's on, and when I see my notification come up for, D Nice's live, I'm like, whatever I'm doing, I stop doing it. I'm like, oh, he on. And I need some help because he is so cold. I didn't realize, I knew he was good, but he is really one of the best DJs I've ever encountered. And I actually asked him to play at my birthday party in July. Hopefully we're out of here, but he's so in demand.
He'll be hard to get. He's gonna be hard to get now.
Oh yeah, he probably charge so much money, but I'm just like, dude, I'm loyal to you. Please, help me out here, July 20th. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway,
there's a DJ his name's Big Daddy, the DJ, and he's from New Orleans, but he lives in Dallas now, and he's really good. And he's the one that I've been probably listening to the most on during this quarantine. And actually, I got two of my friends, like, we'll text each other, "Hey, Big Daddy's on now." We just always just tune into it, and he's like, because he just mixes and he plays a lot of New Orleans bounce stuff, and he's really good too. He's probably my favorite one. But late at night, I check in to see if D-Nice is on, and I go in there for a little while, and I don't really stay on there as long. But yeah, I mean, that's been the good thing about this. I mean, we've got a chance to get exposed to a lot of people that we probably didn't know much about, or and it's really kind of has gotten us through it.
That's true. Now, I have listened to Big Daddy a couple times. I've seen him on Facebook Live, on other people, they'll share him, and he is good. I'm more, which is so weird because I grew up in Mississippi, lived in Texas, so it's more, most people here like Dirty South,
right,
hip hop. However, I've always been East Coast, Chicago, West type of hip hop music. I love house music for Chicago, and I love East Coast and West Coast hip hop. And right. I like some. Don't get me wrong, I do listen to some Dirty South rappers, but it's just and music. But I just prefer it. So, but I do like Big Daddy. His name Big Daddy, right?
Right.
Yeah, I do like him. He is pretty decent. I like him. So I have listened to him a couple of times. Okay, let's get to what we really came for. Last Dance, parts 5 and 6. We opened up part 5 with the Kobe segment. How was that for you, Rod?
It's tough, and I put some on Twitter as soon as it happened. I mean, just whenever we see Kobe, like when we see interviews now, like when you first see him, like you don't even realize, you don't even think that he's gone. I mean, you still think he's here, and then like 30 seconds in the interview, it just kind of hits me like, dang, Kobe's not here anymore. So that's always just the tough part whenever I see a Kobe interview now. But, I mean, you see it. I mean, when he talks, if you close your eyes and listen to Kobe talk, you really don't even know which one. You don't know if that's Kobe talking or if that's Michael Jordan talking.
Right.
That's how similar they are just in their, just the way they talk and their mannerisms and everything they say. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're listening to the same person, really. But it was great that they were able to work him into the documentary because he definitely deserved it. I mean, he basically was kind of Michael Jordan 2.0 pretty much, and so it's just good to see him, be a part of that documentary.
I didn't know how I was going to feel regarding this segment because, like you said, it's still unbelievable that he's gone. And I'm gonna say this right here, and I'm gonna run for the border. Just, I was thinking as I was watching it the other day, Sunday, I was like, wow, just think, had they blew the horn on this COVID-19 earlier, Kobe may have still been here because they would have, everything would have been kind of shut down like it is now. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, because apparently they knew about it then, but they didn't do anything about it. But anyway.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it that way. That's an excellent point. But obviously, we know life doesn't work that way, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it, and I was like, wow, if they had taken care of this earlier on, he may have still been here, because July 26th, people were dying from, this disease now, and at that point then, but I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, meaning it was not as sad. I like that they showed the bond between Michael and Kobe and the respect that they both have for one another. And, during All-Star game in 99, Kobe was the youngest player that year at age 19. And I have, and I'm sure you have heard the story of what Kobe was asking MJ, when they were arm in arm on the court that day at the All-Star game. And, he was pretty much asking for tips on how to play big defense players and defensive players. And I believe at that moment, in my heart, I believe at that moment MJ was passing the torch on to him then. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what happened during that weekend was really, and that's why I'm glad that's where they showed in the documentary was that particular All-Star game, because I think that is when they both sort of, well, Kobe always looked up to Mike, but I think that's when Mike decided, yeah, this is the guy, and he had respect for him, and Kobe obviously asked good questions or whatever. So, I mean, I think Michael understood that, this is a guy who he could pass that torch to and who could handle it. And, the rest is sort of history. And, they showed them, like, they were kind of making fun of Kobe, I guess, in the locker room before the game, talking about how he doesn't pass the ball or whatever they were saying. And,
right.
I thought it was just kind of funny to hear him being that, talking that much about this young guy in the league. And that showed that he had, sort of made his mark enough that they were talking about him. And I thought that said a lot about Kobe as well. But, yeah, I mean, he definitely passed the torch to him that weekend, and Kobe took it and ran with it.
Right. And, like you said, he respected Kobe as pretty much as the only one that could beat him or possibly surpass him. And, I like when Kobe was talking, he was saying he's my big brother. What you get from me is from him. And that says a lot about, and don't get me, like, you and Rod, you've seen my posts on social media, because I'm like, he's trying to be like Mike. I've never been a Kobe fan, and we talked about that once on the show. Not until after he retired. However, I respected his game. Because it was Mike's game just about, and but he put it. He pretty much said it. What you get from me is from him, and his bond with him was more than what people thought or knew about. And, to think that he was calling Mike all the time, when he needed advice or just, needed a guidance from him, that says a lot. And it explains, because he was not crying at Kobe's memorial. He was weeping. He wept at that memorial about Kobe. And most people only seen or heard of MJ just wanting to win, but he truly loved him, and it broke his heart, that he's gone. And
yeah. And at the memorial, I was going to say, at the memorial, I mean, you could really, we saw a side of Michael that we hadn't really seen before. I mean, he cried at the Hall of Fame thing, but this was a different type of crying and a hurting. And, I mean, you can just tell it was, it was genuine. And we had just never seen that. So, I mean, it tells you the kind of impact that they both had on each other's lives, which is, we all knew how much of an impact Michael had on Kobe's life, but to see it, flipped around the other way was, this said a lot about their relationship.
It says a lot about it. And, and so I hope with the memorial, with Mike showing how he felt about him, and then this segment, I hope that, like with the who's the better, Kobe or Michael, just let it go. I mean,
and that was my thing after the when Kobe died, and I was one of the ones who would always get in those debates. Like, and after they died, I said I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just going to appreciate the greatness and of all of it. I mean, and I think it's something that I think black people, I think we do it more than anybody. I always have to compare our people, and we shouldn't have to do that. We can just, it's okay to just appreciate them all, and we don't have to. One doesn't have to be better than the other. But that's just something that we do, and hopefully one day we'll get away from it. But because when you do it, you always end up pulling one of the other ones down, and we shouldn't do that. We should just, it's okay to lift everybody up. We don't have to tear one down and lift somebody up. So I just think we need to stop comparing greatness. But I know we won't do it, but it's something we should do.
And I totally agree. And it not only does it tear one down, it divides us. And I've seen, and I'm sure you have, and shoot, I just stood up and read 132 comments just because y'all fussing over LeBron, and I'm like, are y'all freaking kidding me? I mean, one thing about me, I don't debate at all on social media, because first of all, I don't know half of y'all on there. Not, like, you're not that close to me that I would even care to debate with you regarding basketball. Especially millionaires who are not going to pay me to, debate. So my thing is this, and you've seen my post. I say what I say. people can come on there, you know, and say what they want to say, but I'm not going to debate you on how I feel. You telling me, you know, because everybody know I'm a Michael Jordan fan to the day I die, and have always been. And this documentary, they can say what they want. Everybody knows he was the greatest basketball player to ever do it, period. And if you can't go and look at these documentaries and see for yourself, then you're really not a basketball fan. You're a basketball player fan. You like players. You're not a fan of the game. And you know, it is what it is. But I don't know. I'm like you. I'm hoping that we stop doing that, which we probably won't, because I don't know where that came from. You know, putting one person down and lifting another one up, and it's not good. It really is not.
It's not good at all. But the thing about it, you're not going to change anybody's mind for the most part.
Right.
If somebody likes somebody, that's who they're sticking with, and whatever you say, whatever argument you throw out, they're not changing. So what's the point? I mean, it's just like politics. I mean, you know, people, they're on one side and they're not giving up any of their ideas. I mean, they believe what they believe and they're not switching. So
that's true. And that's all you can say. I mean, just keep scrolling if you don't like it, and you know, let's move on. But speaking of moving on, one of the other interesting stories for me in part 5 was the Nike segment. This was so informative. It was a very informative segment for me because, one, I never knew Arthur Ashe had a shoe line or even his own racket line, mainly because I was a toddler when this was going on with him. I was a little girl, I was 5, so I didn't know. And, you know, I never knew that they were trying, like a shoe line for a basketball player, like that was unheard of.
Right.
And that was weird to me. But what was your thoughts on this segment?
That was, out of the whole documentary so far, it was probably like the most informative. It's probably like the one thing I didn't really know and didn't really remember. I do remember I remember when Bird Magic and Dr. J were all rocking Converse. I remember that. Right. And I sort of remember Nike being really good with that, like track and cleats, because I remember in high school, like I had Nike cleats. That's what I wore playing baseball. But like just seeing how big Adidas was, I remember Adidas being really big, but I don't know if I really knew how much Adidas like dropped the ball. Like, I mean, it could have been theirs if they wanted it, and they just they got to be still kicking themselves because of that. Because I mean, I don't even know if you don't even really see Adidas much anymore. But man, and it was $250,000 deal. I forgot what the deal was, but and Mike's mom had to talk him into it. Basically, I mean, she's like, "Go listen to him." And, yeah. and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
You look at where Air Jordans are now. I mean, they're the shoe, and just to see how that all started was, pretty fascinating. And I just remember even being in high school, like I could never afford Jordans, so I never had a pair. And then last year I ended up buying a pair for the first time. I said, I'm just gonna get some. And then I sort of got addicted to them, and now I got several pair. But it's just kind of weird how that all started.
And speaking of Adidas, when you said, and I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, they got to be kicking themselves in the butt with this one. And I wonder if they fired the person that told his agent, "False, we're not gonna, deal with MJ." It's just like, I wonder what was the reasoning behind that. And it may have been the best thing for MJ to not go to Adidas because they were established and may not have given him the attention he needed as a new athlete. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Whereas Nike, to me, Nike and MJ grew up together.
They did.
They were only expecting to make $3 million that first year, and ended up making $126 million with MJ. So it's like they grew up together. It was like the collab was good for both of them. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was agreeing with you. I was just saying, they sort of needed each other too, I think, and it worked out. It's just kind of amazing how so many things in Michael's career. I mean, you go to like from the coaches he had, from Scotty coming. Everything just seemed to line up for him like it was supposed to be. I mean, it was just meant to be for him. So that was another perfect a perfect marriage, I guess you could say.
And and it's like you made a very valid point. But when you just said that, but another thing, whenever he always said no to something, and people was like, I think you need to rethink this, and he ended up, getting his first championship when he finally agreed, to it wasn't about him, it was a team. He got his, first major contract with Nike, and it's still very lucrative for him 30, 40-some years later. I mean, it's just like everything, like you said, it lined up for him. And at first he was, there was, he didn't want to do it, but that's because, he was a kid, and it's, Adidas. And at that time, my Adidas was out by Run DMC.
Run DMC, yeah.
So, that would have been, he probably was visualizing, the commercial be that music playing, and I got on Adidas. And so, you never know. But I'm so thankful that, it worked out for him with Nike. And then he ended up, I was watching an interview with Spike Lee on GMA the other day, and, they put Mike and Spike Lee together.
Yeah.
And Spike Lee said Mike didn't even know who he was or watch his first film, She Gotta Have It. But he was willing to work with the young director. I mean, and the rest is history. They did their first commercial together, with Nike. What was Mars? What was Mars?
Mars Blackman.
Mars
Blackman. Yeah.
Yeah, Mars Blackman. And so, it's like that ended up being a budding relationship between Mike and MJ. You'll see them when Mike was at Madison Square Gardens, and they verbally bantering back and forth while Mike is playing. It was cute, and they were friends. And it's amazing how those two relationships just kind of, I mean, it helped Spike Lee too, because nobody knew Spike Lee, and after being on that commercial with Mike, it was people were more interested in who is Spike Lee, and his acting and directing took off as well. So, Mike had a couple of more endorsements that year, Wilson Sporting Goods and Mickey D's. And I really believe I'm his biggest fan, but he is so freaking cocky. And, he was like, but he told the truth. My game was my biggest endorsement. Had I not put up the numbers, I wouldn't got the endorsement deals. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I think that's what it was. I mean, his game spoke for itself, and everybody. And we hadn't seen anybody who played the game like he did. I mean, obviously, Magic and Bird sort of, they got people watching the NBA, I guess. Really, but I mean, Michael just sort of took it to this whole different level with just. I mean, he said just a game, but I mean, he had some swag too, and that played into it. I mean, he was. If he was, I can't even think of anybody, but I mean, he had everything that it took to sell the products that he was selling. I mean, he had the look, and he just kind of had it. He was different from everybody else, and he had this confidence and his confidence in himself that you just saw it, and I mean, I think all that helped sell everything that he wanted to sell.
That's true. I totally agree, and it's amazing how even it's been years since he played basketball, maybe 20 now, 19, 20 years, and people are still, which I don't like when they be fighting over sneakers and stuff, but I heard they were in line in Georgia buying sneakers the other day. I mean,
during the coronavirus, what are y'all doing? But yeah,
that's crazy. He's still selling Hanes. It's like, my thing is this: you're saying this man is not the GOAT, but people are still saying he's the Michael Jordan of.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what people are saying, and I'm like, are you? I still don't get it, but I mean, it's amazing how his name, after all of these years, is still selling items.
And it's selling the items to people who never saw him play.
Yes.
I mean, not this isn't just us standing in line. These are people who are
Kids.
15, 20 years old who have never seen him play. People who were buying his stuff before this documentary even came out.
Thank
Who
you.
they had just heard the name, and yeah, and it'll go on for forever. I mean, his name's, 20 more years from now, they'll still be lined up to buy him. So
yeah,
he's definitely left his mark.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, let's get to the side that I really don't like this side of Michael, and because I don't want anybody to think that I'm doing these these interviews with you, talking about The Last Dance to just talk, all angels, dust, and good stuff about Mike, because it's not about that. He is human, and he had a lot of flaws, a lot of flaws. And Rod, we have always known that MJ is very competitive. He even admitted to being addicted to being competitive. However, for you to get angry because someone compares another player to you is on a whole other level for me. Let's talk about Clyde Drexler and MJ. What were your thoughts about the comparison of the two and how MJ handled the finding out that people were comparing them?
I think if Clyde had said it himself, it would have been a reason to get upset. But it was just like some reporter just kind of made the comparison, and people might have said a little bit. But I think Michael was just so competitive that I think sometimes he would almost make up stuff in his head to make him compete hard. Like, I think he needed that, like, it's like his way of self-motivating himself. I really think it pissed him off, but I also think that he sort of, like I say, I think he just sort of creates stuff to make him more competitive. So if that's what it takes to get him going, I think that's what he had to do. And I think you saw it with Clyde, you saw it with Dan Marley, with Phoenix. I mean, if you think you can stop him, or you think you're comparable to him, he's going to make sure that you know. Not just make sure you know. He's going to make sure everybody knows.
Everybody knows
that you're not.
That's
what drove Michael Jordan.
You're right. You may have a point. He may have just made stuff up in his head. But Danny Ainge said he knew it was over when MJ was saying nice things about Drexler, when people was asking him about the comparison, and he knew it was over because he said he was going to demolish him when they were on the court. And one thing I do love about MJ versus some athletes now, they poised him and got him ready for media. He never really said too much of a crazy stuff. And then even though it bothered him that people was comparing him to Drexler, he never let on to it. It was a commercial back in the day, secret, never let them see you sweat. You never let anybody know something bothers you. And I always tell my nieces that I'm like, you can be dying on the inside. Do not ever let people know that they've gotten to you, because when they know they've gotten to you, then they got you.
Right.
And they know how to manipulate a situation to get you angry. And so, when he would talk about him, Drexler's, great player, blah, blah, blah. But he was like, but I'm going to show you how he is not me on this court. And, Magic even said when they were playing the night before, a card game, and he was like, he was going to give it to Drexler, and he didn't want anybody to have anything over him. And the shrug, that's where the infamous shrug comes from.
Right.
Because he was dropping the threes.
Right.
And, he was like, Magic said MJ was never satisfied with just beating you, but he wanted to put his foot on your neck.
Right. And not just in basketball, and everything he did. I mean,
everything he did.
Yeah.
That's wow. So I don't know. And I was watching Mike Wilbon from ESPN the other night after The Last Dance. Did you see that?
I watched. I don't know if I saw him. I was watching some of Scott Van Pelt, and
okay, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I saw Wilbon talk about it or not.
Yeah, Wilbon was later, but he mentioned that he brought up Alonzo Mourning to Mike, and he was like, why you bring him up to me? And he got angry, and I think they played Miami the next night or whatever, and he actually only scored 3 points against him because of what Wilborn said to him. He didn't like it. And it's like, don't bring anybody up to me. That's why I'm like, how did Kobe get a pass? I mean, was it that he knew Kobe wanted to be like him so bad and that was an honor to him? I'm like, why was he different versus the other guys? I mean, he didn't like it.
Right. I think he may have seen some of himself in Kobe, though.
Okay.
I don't know that, but I'm just saying, I think, and I mean, if Kobe walked up to you during the game, I mean, I think Mike's probably not even used to some young guy walking up to him and asking questions. And Kobe is such a student of the game. I'm sure Kobe was asking really good questions, and Mike probably almost had to respect it. Like, okay, this kid knows what he's talking about. That's what I don't know that. I'm just
yeah. But yeah, I'm like, this dude is off the freaking chain. I mean, he's so freaking competitive. It's just like, that's just life for him, I don't know. Yeah. But even his kids, I'm trying to move on from that. His children, they did an interview with GMA last week, and Jasmine, the baby, the daughter, she was like, they asked, was he competitive? She was like, he's very competitive. He even competes with us, just playing Sudoku or doing a puzzle. And Marcus, the second child, he said that he was a freshman in high school, and Mike, and Jeffrey were playing basketball one-on-one, and Mike was being so competitive that he had to call his mom and be like, Dad is bullying me, Mom, and so it's just to make him stop.
Right.
It's, I'm like, I wonder where it started. I mean, was it, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think something like that has to start, like, in childhood, I think, like, I mean, we talked a little bit last week about
brothers.
Right, but we talked about that a little last week. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's something deeper than that. I mean, I don't think you're just born like that. I mean, and maybe you are, and maybe he was born with something that none of us were born with. But yeah, I mean, he's ultra competitive, and I think it just goes back to the competition between him and his brothers as growing up.
Right. Before I move on from this, with the Drexler and Portland, when I saw them talk about Portland, I smiled because I was actually in Chicago when the finals were going on, and a friend of mine, Christine Simon, she lives in Chicago. We went to the China Club one night, and we had just got there. I hadn't even been there we may have been there maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and who do I see but Jerome Kersey? So, right, you know me. I don't meet any strangers, and I'm not afraid to really talk to anybody. So I walked up to him, and I was like, "Come on, Christine," because she doesn't really know basketball like that, like the players.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Come on," and she was like, well, I need to go speak to him. She was like, "You know him?" I was like, "Come on." So we go over there, and I'm like 20, 21, and I was like, I looked up, I hit his arm, and he looked down, and I was like, "Hey, y'all gonna lose tomorrow because you out here kicking it tonight." And he looked at me and started laughing. So we go back and forth for about a minute or so, just talking. He was like, "No, I'm good. I'm not gonna even be out late." I'm like, "It's 12:30 now," because we had just got there. And so, needless to say, they lost the game the next day, and I blame Jerome Kersey and I thank him at the same time because. It's just like, it was just funny to me. And I'm like, maybe I got in his head, maybe I got, like I really did something.
You're taking some credit for it, huh?
Yeah. But I'll never forget that. That was so cool to me because, he didn't, act crazy or nothing. He thought it was funny. Like, oh, she's cute.
Yeah.
She think we're going to lose. Well, they did. So, but I just had to put that out there. Now, throughout the series, Rod, MJ is a snitch.
He snitched that. He's kept a streak going. He snitched every Sunday.
Oh my God! said, he's telling all the tea, and, I mean, it's just like, I guess he's doing it to clear his name with some stuff. For instance, with Isaiah not being a part of the Dream Team in Barcelona in '92. What was the beef with Isaiah and the reason he was not on the Dream Team in your perspective, from your perspective, rather?
I just think, I mean, I do think Jordan had a lot to do with it. I mean, even when he asked Rod Thorne, like, who's all on the team, like, who's playing, when they asked.
That was funny.
Right. I mean, to me, that implies that he's making sure that, hey, Isaiah's not on this team. But I just think, I mean, Isaiah was with the Pistons. A lot of people didn't like the Pistons because of how they played. And Isaiah was sort of the, you know, I mean, he was the man on the team. And so I think a lot of that fell on him. And so I do think I think Bird probably didn't care too much for Isaiah.
Well, he said it was Magic, Bird, Pippen, and himself that didn't want Isaiah on the team.
Right. So
that's why the snitching part came in. He told it on all of them.
Yeah, he told who. Right. He's exactly right. So yeah. I mean, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, I guess, but I hated that for Isaiah because based on basketball skills, talent,
he's a baller.
He needs to be on that team. He was at that time, he was one of the best players in the league, without a doubt. And you know, but I guess I get it. I mean, you got everybody who gets along pretty well, and this other guy that nobody really likes. I mean, and you got to be, you know, in Barcelona with them for however long they were over there. I mean, I get it, but it was wrong.
Yeah, it was wrong.
But it's still baffling to me that that was 92. We're in 2020, 28 years later, and I cannot believe that they're still talking about that. I just can't. I'm just baffled by that.
It's very baffling, but at the same time, like you said, it was definitely wrong because he was way better than Stockton. Who else was over there? And I
Chris
like
Mullin was on the team.
Chris Mullin. It was another.
Christian Laettner was on it, but Christian Laettner, they had decided to take one college player anyway. And Christian Laettner made it. So, I mean, he probably shouldn't have been on it.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah, I am not a fan of his, never have been. But he was a straight baller, period.
Yeah.
However, you know, the harmony between them may not have been the same had he joined the team. You know, the camaraderie between them, you know, they were tight.
I think even that, though, I think it'll been one of those things where, you know, sometimes you might not think you don't like a person because of how they, you know, but then when you hang out with them, you say, well, you know what, this person really ain't as bad as I thought he was. Mm-hmm. And I think it probably could have got like that if they had let Isaiah come, but maybe, I don't know, I mean, because I didn't even realize that off the court it was that personal for them. I thought, you know, I mean, you don't like each other when you're playing, but I just figured, you know, when the game's over, get along, but apparently they couldn't get past it.
So you're thinking if Isaiah had been on the team, the chemistry and harmony would have been the same? No.
I don't. Well, the way they're acting now, probably not. But I just think when you hang out with somebody, I think you probably can get to. I think you probably can realize that, you know what, this dude he ain't that bad. And Isaiah and Magic they were close. You know, they were best of friends for a while. So I just think it probably could have been moved over if they really wanted to, but it seems they had their minds made up that, look, this dude's not playing with us, and that's just how we're doing it. So.
Well, first of all, back to the who was playing. First of all, that's one thing. I don't know about other people. I can only speak for the black community, but you've even said it. Who coming? Who all
going to be over there? Yeah, that's what we want to know.
Over there. Yeah. And when we find out that.
It's usually we're usually asking about one person. Yeah, when we ask that question, we usually got an idea, like we're trying to find out if that person's going to be there. So, yeah.
Yeah, and when they say that person's name,
right.
Like, oh, I'm not coming.
Right.
And they be like, well, no, I mean, why? Well, you know, well, no, you know, and sometimes you would think sometimes you can get past certain stuff, but I'm sure it's people, and I don't hate anybody. However, I don't vibe with everybody.
Right.
I'm a fun person. I can get along with the best of it and most people, but for some folk, it's just like I don't vibe with them, and I don't want to be around them. It's just something about them. And I think a lot of, theirs was just, like, it was a lot
more personal than I think people
realize. Personal than we really know. Yeah. It's way more personal than what we know. Everybody so he tripping over a handshake.
Right. So it had to be deeper. Right. It had to be deeper than that. Yeah.
It's more to it, and I think Mike probably still was holding stuff because of how they was kicking his butt before they winning, and then the handshake, and then it may have been some words. Internet wasn't out back then, so Shade Room wasn't out, so we don't know. Stuff could have been said that we don't know anything about. But I was shocked to know that all of them didn't want him to play. I was like, wow, and it was interesting that how they bonded on that. And speaking
I saw something yesterday with Michael Wilbon that tweeted something out, and I didn't see what his original tweet was, but originally Wilbon came out and said like 9 of the players didn't want Isaiah on the team, but yesterday Wilbon retracted and said that he stands corrected, that it wasn't 9, that it was less than 9. I don't know if that meant 8 or what it meant, but
still, that's still almost the whole team.
Right. So,
even if it's 4 or 5, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's a lot, and it's just it's just like, wow. I mean, and even how I mentioned camaraderie earlier. As we mentioned in part 1, Scotty was having contract issues, and one of the reasons was that $1.6 million that they left off the contract. They were holding it because the Bulls were holding it for Tony Kukoc.
Right.
And, Jerry Krause, again, he rubbed the team the wrong way, because he wanted this dude. They didn't know who he was. They didn't understand his obsession to get Kukoc. And Tony didn't even come to the Bulls right away because, Yugoslavia was going through a war. However, MJ tells the team, the dream team, to get Kukoc and defend him hard. And it's kind of like Mike is a bully. I'm just, again, biggest fan, but I recognize stuff. He was like a bully, and they held him which is fine, defend him. Don't hurt him, but they held him to 4 points the first game. They beat him by 30. And, the second game, Kukoc had to show him he wasn't no punk.
Right.
He had 16 points, 6 assists. They still lost, but he ended up gaining their respect after that. Do you think that MJ and Scotty were wrong how they treated Kukoc without even really knowing him?
I don't know if they were wrong for how they – they didn't – you're right. They didn't even know him, and they took it personal, and they shouldn't have.
Right.
But they could have taken it personal, but not on him. They should have maybe said something to Krause about it. But I was surprised when I saw how they just kind of went at him during the Olympics, and but it ended up working out. Kukoc proved himself, and they eventually accepted him. But I was a little shocked that they took it that personal, that they didn't want this. They wanted to show them that this dude didn't deserve to be on the team, and they basically just kind of locked him up, and he couldn't do anything in the first game. So
right.
Yeah,
and as they should. That's your job.
Yeah.
You're getting paid millions of dollars to do that. But it was just like, y'all did it because y'all were, you hurt my boy Scotty, so let's get him. And they followed suit. They got him. And, it was just interesting how I'm just like, oh, my God, he's a bully.
That's a good word for it. That's what he was doing.
He was bullying, yeah.
And he was so much better than everybody that he could do it. He can just say, okay.
And they followed, right.
And they just follow, and they just do it. So
that was interesting to see. And after the Dream Team, when they they win the gold medal in Barcelona, MJ makes it very clear his loyalty to Nike, that he was not wearing the Reebok logo on the jacket. And, he was trying to, cut it all out, get a whole new outfit or whatever.
Yeah.
And, Reebok was like, man, we done already, made these windsuits or whatever they were wearing, but he fixed it where he draped the U.S. flag, USA flag across the Reebok logo. And it's just, I didn't understand. At that time, I didn't realize how deep it was. You know, we're learning so much information behind the scenes because I noticed, you know, everybody noticed the flag draped over. I was like, oh, he's so patriotic, you know, because that's when I was so in love with him. But it was for another reason. So, go ahead.
I think I remember hearing about that, like, when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, like, if he had wanted the Reebok logo, like we had seen it, I wouldn't have thought anything about it. Like, I wouldn't have thought he was, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just wouldn't have, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal to me. I said, okay, he got on, you know, he got on his Reebok. Like, nobody would have thought any less of him, and I wouldn't have thought he was being unloyal to Nike. Like, I didn't really even view the tennis shoe war like that. I just thought, you know, but obviously he did, and I mean, it was a good thing that he did, I guess. I mean, it did show some some loyalty, and I think that had a lot to do with why people. I mean, even today, I mean, these NBA players, like whoever they're with, I mean, they're just not going, you know, they're not going to budge on that. They're going to stick to whoever their shoe contract is with.
Yeah, that's true. That is true, and it's just it was just you know, I was amazed. I don't know if I remember a little bit about it, but I don't really. I guess I didn't, like you. It didn't mean that much to me. I just thought he was being very patriotic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just interesting to hear that story and to even hear him, you know, on film recording, you know, saying he's not gonna do it. It's just like
I mean, he was like he was like mad about it, like I ain't doing that BS or whatever he said. Like he was like really like it just wasn't that serious to me. But yeah, he felt you ain't gonna make him wear something that he didn't want to wear. That's not his confidence.
Right, or do nothing he didn't want to do, and that is for sure. Now the Dream Team truly changed the face of basketball after the Olympics. I mean, they were like rock stars. And after this, MJ was a true household name across the world. You know, his commercial from Gatorade, Like Mike, that came out after that. And I mean, to this day, like we mentioned before, you know, people are still saying he's a Michael Jordan of this. And, you know, it's just, I wonder, do you think some of the greats may have taken offense to like the Like Mike commercial?
I don't know if I thought they did, because I think everybody just looked at Mike as the ambassador of the game. I think eventually, because of him, the game became global, which meant more money. And I think everybody appreciated it because they knew that, you know, inevitably it was going to affect their pocketbooks because the salary cap was going to rise just because of the game had just gotten so big. He had a lot to do with it. So I think they probably appreciate it. I don't know if I don't know any players who came across as being jealous of him or felt like he was taking too much of the spotlight. Like I never really saw that with him. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know some fans who didn't like him because he had probably gotten too big, but for the most part, I don't think any players, and even to this day, I mean, everybody seems to have the utmost respect for him. So I don't think that was an issue. I mean, I remember how big that commercial was. I mean, it was.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, you were singing that song, and so yeah.
It was on probably 10, 20 times a day. I mean, it was played all the time, and you're right. Yeah, it was a big song, and probably one of Gatorade's most lucrative campaigns because that was pretty big, but. Because MJ is truly a household name now, especially at that point he was a big household name, especially in the black homes. Most felt that he should be the face for the black and civil rights movement that was going on during that time. His mom, again, you know, she got involved with Mike, wanted MJ to support Harvey Gantt, who publicly endorsed him in the 90s for a Senate race in his was it his home? It was North Carolina, yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, they wanted him to do it so he can get the votes to win the election against Jesse Helms, a known racist who killed the idea of the Black Museum and the MLK holiday in North Carolina. Of course, we know Mike refused to endorse him publicly, but he supported Gantt with money instead. And at this point, you know, he lost a lot of credibility with the Black community. MJ said to him, you know, he said on the documentary he wasn't an activist, and a lot of athletes aren't activists. Magic, Kobe, Dak, Cam Newton, Shaq, just to name a few. However, the GOAT, Muhammad Ali, was an activist. Do you think MJ had any responsibility to the Black community to be more as an activist due to notoriety?
I think in that instance, with Jesse Helms' past and what he had done, I think he should have, but I don't ever try to tell a person to do something they don't believe in. And
right.
If Michael didn't, if that's not how if he didn't feel strong enough about it, that's cool. He gave his money. I mean, even today, I wish he had, but I wonder if he had a chance to do it over again, would he? But, I mean, he had a lot to, I don't even know if he would have lost a lot because, I mean, his fans weren't going anywhere. I don't think people were going to stop buying his shoes because of it. And maybe some of the, what do you say, Republicans buy sneakers too. Maybe some of them would have. I don't know. And which I had heard that quote before, but I didn't even realize that it came because of it. I didn't know the context of it. But I mean that's one of the things that he did that I don't know if I would have thought much about it then, but as I get older and I realize how important it is for somebody to speak up for us, I wish he would have, you know, done, you know, spoke up for Gann and endorsed him and publicly. I just wish he would have. And I mean, I know people say that the election was supposedly pretty close, and Mike probably could have pushed him over the, you know.
Had he endorsed him publicly, he would have won.
Right. So I mean, yeah. So I hate that he didn't do that, and that's one of the things. I mean, if you want to, okay, I'll go ahead and mention LeBron now. I was trying not to. I didn't want to do it this time either, but that is one of the things that I appreciate about LeBron is that he didn't really care about the repercussions from it. If there's an issue, he'll speak up for it, and that may be something LeBron learned from seeing Michael not do it. Maybe he said, okay, well, I will do it. I don't know. But, I mean, I have a lot of respect for him for being willing to stick his neck out there and on issues that most athletes are just kind of, you know, just so silent on. So, but saying all that, I do wish Michael had done the right thing. I mean, not the right thing, but I wish he had done that. But if it's not him, just don't do something just because we want you to do it. So I respect it. I just don't agree with it.
And exactly. And it probably would not have been authentic had he publicly did it. He would have been like forced. And I don't see him being that type of dude being forced to do anything. And like you said with LeBron, I'm not a fan of his. Again, I respect his game, but I respect him more off the court. And I appreciate him for standing up for certain rights, you know, people getting, you know, blacks getting killed. I appreciate him for bringing light to that because he has so many fans. And these people think he is the GOAT. And, you know, so he can, you know, when he speaks out, people listen. And Michael, you know, it was a different time. You know, if he had been around, like, you know, like getting guidance from Muhammad Ali or somebody like, you know, like who was kind of militant, and Mike is not, he's only militant on that court.
Right.
He's when he's competing in something, golf or something. He's not militant in seems like in other areas of his life. So, you know, you never know. I think it would have made a difference, and he probably would have won.
Right.
But, you know.
I think back to that time, though, and that was, I don't know, Rodney King beat it. That was like 91, 90, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 92, 91.
90, whenever it was, early 90s. And I was in college then, so maybe I probably wasn't even in tune enough with what was going on. But I don't remember any athletes at all like saying anything about that.
Me neither.
I mean, I can't think of one, and maybe they did. And I just, like I said, I was in college and probably wasn't paying as much attention as I should have been. But I just don't know if that was really the. I mean, in the '80s, I mean, people were doing it, and like people like Kareem in the '70s and Jim Brown in the '60s, they were all doing that stuff. But I think in the '90s, we may have been at a point where we were starting to like come up a little bit, and I just don't know. I don't know if black athletes were really just doing that then. So I'd have to go back and look to see if anybody.
I don't remember. I'm like you, Rod. I don't remember any athletes being active in civil rights for equality for blacks and anything. I don't remember that. And especially you made a valid point with the Rodney King, because that was huge. And
it was like right there in the middle of all this, so I just can't remember like.
Right. And that's when they started filming. That's when they first started filming stuff because the Rodney King thing. And I just don't remember that. I don't remember. That's a valid point. But we'll never know. He just doesn't like to do it, and that's his prerogative.
Yeah.
So, moving on to part 6. Part 6 goes more into MJ the man, the ups and downs of being a superstar. Everybody wanting a piece of him and having to be on 24/7. Part 6 pretty much opens up with MJ in a hotel alone, well, besides the cameraman and the reporter. And he even, mentioned, he mentioned something like, I'm here kind of by myself, well, except y'all here.
Right.
And he said it sarcastically, but he was like, I really want y'all gone. But, again, that's that training he had in media to just keep it cool. We all, and I feel like everybody needs a long time. We all need to compress and rest our minds and bodies. And, I mean, think about it. Our lives, I'm saying normal lives because compared to his, it's no comparison. But think about the time when we need to rest our own selves and our own bodies and minds. And think about the entire world wanting your attention, to have to be camera ready at any given moment. You can't talk, you can't be who you really want to be. And you mentioned last I don't know which, last week or the week before, we talked about MJ and the Bulls in the social media age.
Right.
How, after seeing what he was saying, how do you? Well, I'm sure you feel the same way like you did a couple of weeks ago. They wouldn't have managed well. What do you? I mean,
I think either he wouldn't have managed well, or he would have. Because I think a lot of times, I'm going back to LeBron again. I think he manages it well because he grew up in it. And I think if Michael Jordan had grown up in the social media age, maybe he would have adjusted. But as he was then, you just dropped him into the social media age now, like he would have struggled with it because he couldn't have. I mean, just being under the microscope like that would have been very difficult for him. But I do think, again, if he had grown up in it, I think you can adjust to it, or you have to adjust to it. If not, he wouldn't have lasted a year if you don't adjust to it. So, it's definitely different. And back then, I mean, he was the first one to really go through that kind of, just being in the spotlight like that. And basketball is a little different from other sports because basketball, I mean, the football players, there's some football players you can see them out in the street, you won't even know who they are.
But
basketball, right? Because they wear helmets. But basketball, like everybody knows you. I mean,
but just like I knew who Jerome Kersey was as soon as I saw him. Like,
right.
He was
you
like,
just know him.
I'm like, that's Jerome Kersey. I mean,
he wasn't even the best player on the team, on point of the team, but you still know him because
I knew him because
that's how they're out there.
Right. And
so I mean, it's definitely different for them guys. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, and right, and even to this day, Mike doesn't have a page. That's just something he does not do. And like you said, LeBron, Dwayne, they can adapt to it because they grew up in it.
Right.
Kobe, I think he may have had his page while he was playing ball, but he wasn't on his page.
Right.
Not all the time. So, but when he, when he retired, he was on there. He enjoyed, it was just like different for him. I think it was relaxing for him. But he wouldn't have been able to do that while he was still playing ball because his focus was like, I got to win. This is childish. This is stupid to me.
Right.
What is this? So, it's just interesting how, he just was like, he even said his lifestyle is nothing to envy. People have envy, like, oh, I wish I could be like Mike. Even in commercial, I want to be like Mike, but do you really want to be like Mike? After seeing everything that he has gone through, do you really want to be like him? You want the fame and the money and the fortune and stuff, but you really don't want to be Mike. It's nah. I
didn't even think the stuff that he was going through though. I mean, obviously you got people watching you and waiting outside of the arena for you all the time, but other than that, other than the casino, him going to the casino that night and him getting asked about it, like I didn't even think that the stuff that they were asking was really that bad. I mean, he went to the casino and they wanted him to explain it, but I didn't think. To me, it didn't seem overwhelming, but I mean, obviously it was. I mean, you living under that microscope 24 hours a day it will wear you down. So I get it. And we haven't even seen his family like in this at all. Like, I mean,
they're coming.
Marcus, it is?
Yeah, he mentioned because he's seen them all except 9.
Okay.
He said that Jeffrey was like, he's seeing it for the first time like we are. But Marcus was like, I couldn't wait. And he called his dad and whoever else. He was like, I need to see him now. So he's seen all 9, but the 10th one, they're still working on getting that one done.
Yeah. I noticed a reporter in North Carolina, and I did like her podcast the other day, but we were talking about football and Cam Newton and stuff. But anyway, she actually has a bootleg copy of the whole thing, and she's like, "You want me to send it to you?" I said, "No, I'll just watch it on Sunday with everybody else. I don't even want it right now." Yeah.
Now, if she had asked you that the first week, you would have said yeah, because you wanted all.
I said that, but I enjoy watching it with everybody, and just I don't want to. Yeah. It gives me something to look forward to every week. Cause if I had to watch it all, I don't know what I'd be doing the next few Sundays. So I wouldn't want to see it.
We only got 2 more weeks though.
I know it's only 2 more. I know it flew by.
So fast. I just don't know. But speaking of you mentioned the gambling. As we know, Mike was a huge gambler, and there have been a couple of books written about his gambling and documented stories of his gambling. He was asked about his gambling problem, and MJ said he didn't have a gambling problem. I mentioned, or he said he has a competitive problem. What do you think about? I mean, what do you think about what he said?
I think he has I won't say has. I don't know what he does now, but I think he had a gambling problem, and I think I think him saying he had a competitive problem was just his way of downplaying his problem. And I've known some people who were addicts and lost a lot of stuff from gambling. And I think and it's an addiction. I mean, people have a hard time admitting they have an addiction because they always think, oh, I can stop if I want to, but really they can't, because if they could, they would.
Right.
And I think, you saw how much money they talked about him owing people, and just some of the people he was golfing with. I mean, those were some shady people.
Yes.
When you get involved, I didn't know about Slim. I didn't know about him.
I did.
You did? Okay, I didn't know that story. But and I think he had a problem, and he just didn't really, and maybe he didn't realize it. And when you got that much money, you may not realize it as much as other people. Because Michael wasn't losing his. As far as I know, he didn't lose his home or anything like.
And that's what he was saying. He didn't, and that's what he was saying.
Like regular people do. That's what regular gambling addicts lose. But he didn't lose any of that stuff. So.
And he was like, if I had a problem, have I lost my home? I haven't. I still have money, but look how you have a lot of money though.
You got a lot of money, right?
So
to answer your question, though, I think he did have a gambling. I think he was addicted to it. He was gambling with the security guard. Just anything. Everything was playing cards and playing with with a lot of money in the back with Scotty, and then going to the front and playing with I think it was Will Purdue or Paxton or whoever it was. So yeah, I mean,
Will and BJ.
Yeah, I mean, he just like, so he just always had to gamble, and I don't know if it's just competition. I think it's some.
It's a problem.
It's a problem, right?
Like, I mean, and you know, when Will Purdue was like, you know, he playing back there with Scott and them for hundreds and thousands of dollars, but then we're playing for $1, and he was like, y'all, hey, we're all playing. He was like, why you want to play us? And he was like, just to beat you, take your money and just to say I beat you. It was just like he was obsessed with beating everybody. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just like, I mean, I'm like, wow, you know, Marge, Rod, you said, you know, when I beat you and my sister, in Bible school, you said you were competitive, and you know, even in Bible school, you was competitive. Yeah. Do you think his competitive is that a problem? I mean,
no, I don't think it's a problem. I think that's what separates guys like that. I think even I use Drew Brees for an example because he's a person I cover every football season, and just being around him, he's super competitive like that too. And I don't know about he doesn't gamble or anything, but he's just one of the people that wants to beat you in everything like they do. It doesn't matter what they're doing. He could be playing basketball, just whatever. He just wants to win. And I think when you get these great athletes, I think that's what separates them. I mean, that's what separated Kobe and Michael. And I just think and Drew Brees, obviously one of the best quarterbacks ever. I just think they have this competitive drive that most of us can't even relate to it because we're not really wired like that.
Right.
As much as I wanted to beat you on the quiz, I mean, it wasn't that serious for me. I wanted to win, but it wasn't like.
For my sister.
Yeah.
She was for real.
Yeah. So I mean, those guys are just wired differently than the rest of us, I think.
I agree. And you know, speaking, you know, Anthony Anderson, everybody been talking about Mike this week. Anthony Anderson was on The View the other day, and he told the story where him and MJ was on an island, and he beat Mike in dominoes with Mike's dominoes, and he did not speak to Anthony for 3 days after that. And I'm like, but that's your friend. He didn't speak to him 3 days because he beat him. And it seems to me, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier, it seems like he's trying to overcompensate for something with this. It's so, I mean, it just, like you said, we're not wired like that. It's like, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, even back to Slim Bowler, you mentioned him earlier. Slim Bowler, you know, this dude is shady. I mean, it's like, you know, he had gone to jail regarding drugs and different stuff, and he met Mike because he had a golfing, like selling caddy carts or something, I believe.
Okay.
And, you know, but he ended up having to go. He owed him $57,000. He ended up having to go to testify regarding Bowler, and, you know, of course, he got cleared. You know, he wasn't penalized by Commissioner Stern. But do you think the story of his relationship with Slim Bowler and having to go to court saved MJ from kind of spiraling out of control? Because it's like he was headed to a real dark place with this gambling thing.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the documentary probably, I don't know if they're going to circle back around to some of the gambling stuff or not, but I thought they sort of glossed over it a little bit. And I mean, they mentioned it.
Bring it up again, especially dealing with his dad. They have to.
Right, I think when his dad, yeah, I'd be curious to see.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'm really looking forward to seeing how Michael addresses his decision to go, you know, play baseball and all that. But I do think, I don't know. I mean, I just think he had a problem, and I think there were some bigger issues that I don't know if we'll ever know all the details of it. That's why I'm really looking forward to Sunday, because I assume this is when they'll get to it. But this is kind of their chance to address it, and you know, if it doesn't get addressed now, it might not ever get addressed. But you never know. I mean, Sunday somebody might come out and tell them, you know, what they know. I don't know. We'll see how this all plays out. But it's probably like the one part of his career that everybody's intrigued by and just want to know Like, I guess you want to know. Some people want to know. Some people might not want to know because it could possibly be something to, put a little, might tarnish his legacy a little bit. But so I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what they say about it.
Well, I'm one of those people who want to know because
yeah.
I'm praying that he allows them to be truthful and say what needs to be said because it's a lot. You're hearing. I'm like, oh my God. It's just like I've always known him to be. He's competitive. Like I love what Magic said. He want to make sure he put his foot on your neck. I've always known that, but it's just like some of this stuff is like it's wild to me, and maybe because again, like you said, we're not wired like that.
Yeah.
And
would you want to know something about his legacy? Would you want to know something if it tarnishes his legacy some? Like if they, I'm just throwing this out for an example. If they came out Sunday and said, yeah, the league they wanted me to kind of step away because of all the, I know this is just an example, but if they said something like that, would you want to know, or you kind of just want him to be?
It wouldn't tarnish his legacy for me because I know who he is as far as a player. I know what he did on that court. And again, like I mentioned earlier, he's human. And that gambling is definitely a flaw in his armor. That was an issue. And no, it would not for me because I'm diehard. Even with me talking about, I'm like, he a snitch, he a bully. I see all of that, but I still see Mike as Mike to me. That'll never change. Like you said, but people, you can't change how they feel about a player or a certain situation, and nobody can say anything to me that I can't. I mean, he's human, and as long as he wasn't hurting children or doing something stupid like that, I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm just like, he gambled. Okay, so some of the players they do drugs. Some of them, beat their wives, but you still are famous.
Right. And I do think gambling was looked upon differently back then than it is now. Like if a player if somebody was going to Vegas now gambling, like nobody it wouldn't even be a big deal really.
Right.
I mean, because but it was just kind of viewed a little differently back then, I think.
But that's true, and that's true. And we've been talking a while, but I'm gonna hurry up. Jordan Rule, written by former writer for Chicago Tribune, Sam Smith. That book, it opened a lot of eyes. It was saying how Mike treated the players. For instance, it was told to Sam Smith that MJ told teammates to not pass the ball to certain players, and if they did, they would never get the ball for him again. And there have been reports that Horace Grant was telling Sam Smith this. Well, Mike said it too. Mike snitched again. But Horace said, he denies the allegations and said it could have been anyone. Because a lot of people, they was, even though they played with Mike, they didn't like Mike.
Right.
And, so, it's just interesting how all of that stuff was coming out. And, he wanted Krause fired because he felt like, he sat Phil Jackson down and read parts of the book to him regarding things that Krause said allegedly about him. So it was just, it was interesting. Do you think there was some truth to Jordan's Rule?
Yeah, and I just think when he was writing his story, I just think he talked to so many different people in their locker room. And I think when you talk to enough people, and not just in the locker room, I mean, you just piece it all together. He talked to, and I do think, he probably talked to Phil and talked to crowd, everybody. I think you just piece all that stuff together, and that's usually how those books come about. And so I do think there was definitely a lot of truth to it. And I don't think it was one person just. There might be one person who
all of that, right?
Right. He may have told you a little bit more or something than everybody else, but I think it's just a collaboration of a lot of different stories, and you piece it all together, and you get a picture of who the person is. I mean, that's kind of what storytelling is anyway, and I think that's what happened. And I don't think Horace was a snitch. Horace may be the person he talked to the most, and I'm sure for them to say that, there must have been some story in there
that he told
only Horace. You know, you say, yeah, Horace probably knew that, and you probably say, okay, well, he must be the one that told, but I don't think it was just him at all.
Yeah.
And Jordan, the last one, need to be talking about somebody snitching anyway.
Because, baby, when I say he been telling the tea, I'm like, oh, my God, you're telling everything since the first series. But, I mean, some of it he was telling to, you know, clear his name. But some of the stuff he just talking. Even when the guy was on the plane and he was like, you need to go to bed and you always out. He was like, man, my mom and them watching this. I mean, he was just talking. And I'm like, Mike, shut up. You know, I don't like, you know, I don't like a lot of snitching. I don't like that. So, I mean,
a lot of times he was snitching for no reason, like just like for that, like the case you just used, like that was no reason to be doing that.
No reason. It was just like, you need to go to bed. I'm like, Mike, mind your business. I mean, really, just leave it alone. And you know, one more thing about the gambling. You know, one of the biggest issues with the gambling came when he missed the trip to the White House after winning the championship in '91. He claimed he was on a family vacation, but come to find out, you know, he was with Slim Bauer. And, you know, and that is just like, what is, you know, it's just like certain stuff he just, you know, that showed me that he had an addiction then.
Right, that's what I think. That's when you making up excuses and why those are usually signs of an addict, and and I just think we just have to accept that's, you know, that's just who he was, and I mean he had the money to do it, and most time, especially
and that's
gambling,
why he didn't think it was a problem.
Right, it starts out small, and then all of a sudden you owe somebody millions and millions of dollars, but it all, you know, it's like I said, it starts out small, and he didn't realize he had a problem. Obviously, he didn't realize he had a problem. I think people close to him knew, but yeah. So I think Charles Barkley is even, he may have like hinted at. I mean, because Barkley gambles a lot too. I think he's probably addicted to it as well. But they got a lot of money, so they can do it.
Yeah, and you know, it's just wow. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I gambled. The first time I ever gambled was in Vegas. I was with Jackson State, and I was a voice major with the choir. And my mom was like, "Don't you go to Vegas?" We went to several different states, but she, you know, we were going to Las Vegas. She was like, "You go there to gamble." I'm like, gambling? I mean, in my mind, I'm like, I've never gambled before. Right. And we stayed at Circus, and at that time in the '90s, Circus was like hot stuff.
Right.
And those lights was spinning. And
counting your name when.
Oh my God! I lost $100, and so mind you, I'm a college student. Because she said, if you go there gambling, don't call me for any money. So I didn't have money going to a couple of cities after that, and you know, people had to like buy my food until I got to Chicago. And my family's there. So my family ended up, you know, having to give me money. But I just told my mom that story a few years ago. So after that, I never gambled again. I'm like, oh, that's it for me, you know. So I guess because I'm like, I don't have money like that to just be losing. That $100, it was like $1 million to me that day. I was sick. So, but you know, speaking of, you know, when they were in New York and you know they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. They were down 2-0, and MJ was tired mentally and physically. That was a hard battle for them. That series was a hard fight for them. And his dad suggested, you know, they go to Atlantic City just to, you know, relax.
Right.
It ended up being a problem. You know, people had an issue with this because they didn't feel like he should have been doing that during the playoffs. And, you know, that's when people finally, you know, saw that flaw in him because at that time, you know, I think we may have heard or here and there a little gambling, but that's, you know, we really saw it was an issue. So I don't know. And then the guy, which is Richard, I can't pronounce his name, Esquinas. Michael and me.
Yeah.
And, you know, he said that.
I didn't know about that book either.
I remember that book. He said he owned $1.25 million for golf. you know, and it's just, you know, I'm hoping he's gotten better with this. You know, he's gotten some, you know, because he wouldn't even, when all of this was going on, he didn't even talk to media to the point his dad had to talk to the media for him.
Right.
He was mad. It was like, you know, he was pissed, but he ended up responding by, you know, winning games 3, 4, and 5, and, you know, they ended up, you know, closing it out in Chicago. But, you know, it's just, I don't know. He gets fueled. I think, like you said, he puts stuff in his head to kind of get fueled about certain stuff to make him win, you know. So, but I was going to talk about Phoenix, but we've been talking a long time, a long time. So, what are you looking forward to as far as next week?
Again, I mean, so episode 6, they basically finished with him beating Phoenix. And his dad dies in July, like, you know, a few weeks after that. So I'm just curious to see, you know, how they talk about that, because that was such a big, it was like a big story when it happened. And and I can't remember, was his dad missing for a few days or no?
Yeah, he was missing. He was missing.
He was missing first, right?
They found his Lexus on the side of the highway.
Yeah. Right.
And
so when all that was going on, I mean, it was such a big deal. So I'm just, you know, I want to see, you know, just what they say about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing them talk about, you know, his decision to walk away from the game and pursue baseball, because I'm one of those people who think it was a little bit more than just that. And I don't know, and that's just me speculating.
No,
I have no idea.
I totally agree. No, it was more than just. I think he needs to step away because of what happened to his father. Baseball was probably.
He's competitive, so he needs to do something else. He needed to. I mean, I do think that he's so. I think he's so competitive that, for whatever reason, he was leaving. He couldn't just leave and go home. He needed to be doing something to. He needed,
and that's probably relaxing to him. Baseball is not as, you know, competitive as basketball or golfing for him. So that I don't know. We're just speculating, but I really think it has more. I always thought that his gambling had something to do with his father's death.
Right.
I don't know. I'm hoping they really do, like, get into that. You know, they did. You know, the guys are in jail that did it, allegedly did it. But it's just interesting. You know, that still bothers me. I cried about that man dying. It was just, you know, because I was such a fan. I had been. So, you know, I called them Mama Dolores and Daddy James, because I wanted to marry him back then. But
that's the one part of Michael's story that I don't think any of us really know, and it's the one side
we really don't know.
That's the one, and that's the one thing I want them to dive into. And I don't know how much they will, and I understand if they don't. I mean, sometimes you just want to let stuff go and just move on from it. So I respect how they handle it, but.
I agree. I'm like you. Whatever they, you know, give us, but I still want them to be as authentic and honest as possible. Because if I'm just gonna get the same stuff that we were getting back in the '90s, then I don't want it. So far, we have been getting information that we did not know about, and I'm glad about that. You know, that's why we can sit up and talk about this and exegete how things happen, because we have more information. It's not just what we heard back in the 90s. You know, we're learning a lot of new stuff. So I'm excited about that. But so, Rob, well, thanks for joining me again today. Looking forward to Sunday. And, you know, please tell the listeners, you know, how they can reach out to you.
On Twitter,
or follow you.
On Instagram, it's rwalker1906, and on Twitter, it's Rod Walker Nola, and that's it. Okay. And please follow me on Facebook at She Say Sports, and on IG at She Say Sports 23. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, this is Sonja with She Say Sports, and I will see you on the radio.